thanks for stopping by my channel today. I have for you my best in beauty makeup products for 2016. You guys made 2016 a fabulous year for me. Thank you so much for all of your support, your comments, your suggestions. If you're not already a member of my G crew, I invite you to subscribe so that you can join us for the ride of 2017. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I've got some really good ideas and some creations for some videos this year, and I hope that you join me. The only thing I know for sure about this best in beauty video is that it's going to be a little long because I've got a lot of products that I want to talk about. I didn't limit myself to only one product per category because I felt like that left out some guys that I really wanted to make mention of. So these are really all of the products that I've been loving the last year. I don't care whether or not they were released or made in the last year. They were things that I finally decided to either buy in 2016 or that I definitely used a lot of this past year. And so let's get started because we don't need to talk about nonsense. We need to talk about best in beauty. So let's talk about primers. Hands down, my most favorite, use every single day if you wanted to, primer is by Nivea, the Men Post Shave Balm. I got the sensitive skin just because it kind of reduced the scent a little bit. Although whatever, it smells like a guy. I like the way guys smell. So this primer just really works for your skin, I find, no matter what kind of condition it's in, and it does really good things for your makeup. I have some spot primers that I only use in different areas of my face when necessary. By Becca, the Evermatte Poreless Priming Perfector. I'll apply this kind of around my oily areas, my forehead, my chin, my nose, along my cheeks just a little bit. I don't use it every day. I don't ever really put it all over my face either because it's really not ever necessary. Another spot primer that I use is by NYX. It's the Angel Veil Primer. I really love this drugstore primer. This kind of smooths out my pores if I'm having just kind of a large pore sort of day. But it's kind of just like a smoothing, evening sort of primer, which I can use all over my face, but I tend to just focus on areas like I said before, like along my nose where I have a lot of pores and kind of on my forehead a little bit where I'm developing some lines. Thank you very much. When my skin is unhappy or dry or sensitive or irritated, I go to the Hourglass, what do they call this? The Veil Mineral Primer. This is kind of the tiny size because it's a little bit expensive, and I don't use it all the time. It's a little bit of an illuminating primer. It kind of has an iridescence to it, which just sits very nicely underneath my makeup. It's kind of hydrating as well and just kind of calms my skin down. I only use that primer, like I said, if my skin calls for it. So I've got like an arsenal of primers to deal with whatever kind of grumpiness my skin might be doing for the day. When it comes to foundations, I have 4 that I want to mention. The easiest foundation that I have found to work with and apply is by Hourglass. It is the Vanish Seamless foundation stick. Never thought I would like a foundation stick, but I love the color selection. I love how easy it is to apply. I love how it doesn't mattify me too much and it doesn't, you know, luminize me too much. It just kind of sits right in the middle. My Crappy Skin Day foundation is by Marc Jacobs, the Remarkable Skin Foundation Concentrate. A lot of people don't like this foundation. I really feel like it's because you're putting on too much. When you apply a really thin layer, this thing covers up any unevenness, blemishes, scars, marks, dark spots, anything that you've got going on in your skin. It actually reduces my need to use a lot of concealer, quite frankly. And so if my skin is ever not happy, and it shows, I definitely go for that foundation. By Urban Decay, the All Nighter Foundation, I find that this is a happy medium between long wearing coverage and really good coverage. Not quite as much as the Marc Jacobs, and sometimes that's not even necessary, but it's really comfortable to wear. I hear people complain that it oxidizes during the day, and I don't ever seem to notice that. So I'm sorry if that happens to you, but it doesn't happen to me, and this is why I love that foundation. My favorite drugstore foundation is still by Maybelline. It's the Dream Velvet Soft Matte Hydrating Foundation. I find that that does mattify me without over drying my skin and over mattifying my skin because it is hydrating. It's probably one of the most comfortable foundations I have. Offers medium coverage. You can build it in different places if you need, but just overall, just kind of a really happy foundation for me. So when it comes to setting my powders, setting my powders. When it comes to setting my foundation and I want to use a powder, I have a whole bunch actually. And they all serve kind of a different purpose. And no, I don't use them all every single time. But again, I've got different things going on in different areas of my face. And so I don't necessarily need to mattify everywhere. And so I will strategically use my Youngblood Mineral Rice setting powder. I use this along the sides of my nose, on my cheek, and on my forehead where I tend to get oily. And if I'm having an all over oily day, I can use it all over my face as well. Just kind of my general all over setting powder where I'm not really kind of focusing on any issues. I've really fallen in love this year with the MAC mineralized skin finish powder. There's like a slight luminescence to it. I don't really think it does much except not make me chalky, which is always a good goal. But this is just a really nice thin pressed powder that I can just kind of apply all over to take away the tackiness of my foundation. Of course, I really do love the RCMA no color powder. I hate the packaging. The way that I use it actually is, I've talked before in the past about the Veramona color switch. Well, it comes with a tin top, and I usually pour the RCMA powder in this tin top so that I can use it easily, because otherwise it's a powder mess and goes everywhere. They really need, I understand that they are very affordable, the RCMA powders, they are very affordable, but they really do need to kick up their packaging a little bit. I mean, because quite honestly, they're sold out all the time. So clearly we're sending money your way. Use some of that profit and change your packaging. Okay, end spiel. I love using by Hourglass their ambient lighting powders. So if I want to give my face a little bit of like a luminescent sheen, especially if I'm using a foundation that's very mattifying, or I go in with mattifying products initially, sometimes I want to counterbalance them with kind of an illuminating sort of powder. I find that this illuminates without doing too much. Sometimes I will focus it as my highlighter. I'm not wearing it today, but I will focus it as a highlighter because it's a very subtle highlighter, or I'll just take a big fluffy brush and just kind of apply it all over my face just to give it a little bit of dimension. When it comes to priming my eyes, I have tried a number of eye primers. The one by Wet n Wild is actually really good, except it doesn't have any pigment to it, and my eyes are just kind of red. You know, they've got some pink, not really red, but they've got some like pinkness to them. And I feel like when I'm going in with shadow, I really want there to be just kind of a blank canvas so that the true colors of the shadows show through. So I will forever be a MAC paint pot fan. I've actually been through soft ochre, and right now I'm using Painterly. I don't live for Painterly. I don't think it goes with my skin very well, but it's what I got right now, and it also does the job. I use a concealer brush as well to apply this to my eyelids, just so that I'm not touching my eyelids like crazy. Now, I don't have an oily eyelid problem, so maybe you need something a little bit more heavy duty in order to deal with that if you've got oily eyelids. Ironically, I don't, since the rest of my face is kind of oily, but apparently there's no oil going on my eyelids, and I find that the paint pots work really, really well for that. So now it's time to conceal underneath my eyes, and I have pretty major dark circles, and so maybe it's the European Italian in me, or maybe I'm just not getting enough sleep. I don't know, but there's always a lot going on under here. I have to tell you, I was so excited to make this video just so that I could tell you that my favorite under eye concealer was not the Tarte Shape Tape. So tired of hearing about that concealer. I think the applicator is dumb, and I really find that it just doesn't, it's a little bit too thick for me. I don't know. I just do not. I like it, but I do not live for that concealer, but apparently many other people do. I'm just happy that every once in a while I am not jumping on the bandwagon. I am going to buck the curve today. I don't know what that means, but apparently bucking the curve means I'm going to be different. My favorite under eye concealer to date now ever is by Kat Von D. It's the Lock-It Cream Concealer. It does have a normal size applicator, and I find that it gives me really good coverage that has to be a little bit on the thick side if you're going to be able to cover, you know, what you're trying to cover under there, but it blends out so thinly and so evenly that you have major control over it. I hear that if you've got dry under eyes that it's kind of caking on you. I would just caution you about the under eye setting powder that you're using. Make sure that you're not using a powder that would tend to amplify any dryness. I find that I do not have an issue with that concealer, and I think it conceals magically. Okay, so when it comes to eyes and shadow, we're in for trouble because I was kind of looking at all of my favorites, and I always go for a strong eye. I love playing up my eyes and kind of going with a neutral lip, which is exactly what I have going on here right now. And so I definitely favor different shadows and different brands. So first of all, a major surprise for me were the shadows by Bobbi Brown. I took them out of their original casing and put them in a Z palette. You can see that they're large. I love them. They're pigmented and they stay in place. They do not blend away. My favorites are my transition shade called Toast. I love Black Plum on my outer corner or underneath to line my lower lash line. And then this is Champagne Quartz, which I love using on my lid. I am wearing every single one of those shadows right now. The pans are bigger. I know they're expensive. Try to find a sale either at Bobbi Brown's website. Sometimes she has a sale, and then also, you know, obviously Sephora has a sale. So I definitely prefer purchasing and selecting individual shadow pans than I do palettes, even though, P.S., I buy all the palettes. But I love being able to select my own individually. So I absolutely love the shadows by Anastasia. These are just some of my favorites that I kind of carry with me in my personal Z palette that I always have like accessible. So in order, this is Gem, this is Comfort, this is Fawn, and this is Fudge, this is Plum Smoke, and this is Aubergine. Those are my absolute favorites from her. I unfortunately have way more. Now, if we were going to discuss palettes, I can absolutely do that too. I absolutely freaking love the Viseart shadows. I obviously got the smaller one because they are pretty expensive. This is the Minx Compact. This is the combination of shimmer and matte shades. They obviously come much larger where they're all matte or all shimmer or whatever. I'm going to be exploring them because as it turns out, I love the intensity of the shimmers and the pigmentation of the mattes a ton. A random other shadow or eye tool that I want to mention is by Revlon. It's the Photo Ready Eye Art. So this is like a dual-ended stick and it has kind of a liquid creamy on one side that you apply with a doe foot applicator. And then on the other side, it's got this major glitter that you apply with a brush. And I was using this for my Christmas looks and my like New Year's Eve looks. The glitter intensity of this particular shade is just phenomenal. They do come in other colors. I got a lot of questions from people asking me what I was wearing and they were pretty surprised and pleased to find out it came from the drugstore. So that is definitely kind of like my go-to holiday product that really just amplifies my eyes. Since we were just talking about palettes, one random palette that I want to mention is by Hourglass. It's the Ambient Lighting Edit. So this is a way to get into the game with Hourglass. This is Surreal Light right here. It's one of their ambient lighting powders and it is filtered through 2 blushes, a highlighter, and a bronzer. And I just find that, of course, Hourglass, I love their powders. And apparently I love their foundations too, since their stick foundation made this list as well. But I love the ability to be able to have a variety of their powders. Although it's a little pricey, it's definitely way cheaper than buying all of those guys individually. And I think they were really smart to put this out to in order to accommodate different people's budgets. So that, like I said, it's one investment piece instead of like 5 individual. When it comes to lining my eyes, I love using kind of a liquid liner. I don't really work well with gel liner. Either that or I don't ever give it enough time and I'm always running late, so I never choose to give it enough time. But I definitely have some favorites when it comes to liquid liner. I love both of them by Kat Von D. So just as a comparison between the two, the tattoo liner is definitely a thinner liquid liner, but it is less black. The ink liner winds up being way blacker. I didn't even know there was such a difference, but it winds up being way blacker, but because it's that felt tip, the line is not nearly as thin. So just kind of depending on what your preferences are for a liquid liner, I live and love both of them. However, if you don't want to spend that money, from the drugstore, comparably speaking, is the Physicians Formula Eye Booster 2-in-1 Lash Boosting Eyeliner and Serum. I don't care that there's a serum, I've mentioned it before, I just think it's a really great liquid liner and I kind of feel like it falls in between both of Kat Von D's liquid ones. I feel like it's not too thick, not too thin, and not crazy black, but not like a muted black either. And then for the pricing, you just wind up really scoring with that and it really is just so nice and easy to use. Let's move on to the face a little bit more. When it comes to blushes, again, for the last time, well, probably not the last time, but the last time from last year. I'm gonna say how much I love the Clinique Cheek Pops. They are a sheer blush with a little bit of shimmer, yet still gives you a little bit of color. I feel like it's probably like the most natural looking blushes that I own. It's a magic formula, and I'm an ass for not recognizing that when I bought it the first time. I refuse to take down that video, by the way, where I kind of report that I don't really like it, because I'm just trying to demonstrate that you can learn and you need to be open-minded, yes? Okay, another blush that I loved is by Tarte. It's the Amazonian Clay blushes. Now, they've been around for a while, but they decided to release this year kind of their nude blushes line, which actually was very exciting to me. One, because I love a nude blush, and two, because the other ones that they already had in their collection kind of scared me because they looked really bright. One of my favorites is called Sensual, and it's just kind of a really pretty pinky peachy nude. Big surprise, I was able to say pinky peachy nude within this video. If I'm looking for pigment, I definitely go to my NARS blushes. Thank you so much for telling me that you guys have been loving Madly. That really is my favorite one. However, when I requested some suggestions to step outside my box, you guys recommended Sin, which is a gorgeous kind of plummy brown with a little bit of a gold shimmer. When it comes to bronzers, I was having kind of a hard time like stopping like my list of bronzers, because I just found that there were some really, really good ones this year. First of all, never going to ever break up with Hoola. I use it to contour, I use it to all over bronze. It's like miracle bronzer. I remember I tried this one actually on camera, a first impression, and I was so pleased and surprised by how much I liked it. It's by Too Faced, the Sweethearts bronzer that comes in the cute little heart box. This is called Sweet Tea. So it's two-sided, a little bit brownie and a little bit more highlighter, but it's like a brownie highlighter. You can use one side or the other. You can swirl them together. Typically I swirl, and it just gives you a nice non-matte but non-like shimmery kind of neutral bronzed look. And it just like I said, it's a neutral, so it really just winds up going with everything. A surprise to me and very affordable is by Makeup Revolution. This is the Vivid Baked Bronzer in Golden Days. I picked this up on a whim. It's kind of a marbled, shimmery bronzer. It reminds me so much of the one by Too Faced at a way reduced cost. However, this one is just a little bit warmer. Just a hair. It's not orange, just a little bit warmer, whereas the Too Faced really is neutral. But you can use this, no problem, blindfolded. You just cannot go wrong with it. It's really easy to use, very subtle, not overly pigmented, so that you really don't run the risk of overdoing it. Okay, so now we're going to highlight, and I'm not usually a big highlighter person. It turns out I bought a lot of highlighter this past year. So I'm gonna start with the friendly priced one by Wet n Wild. This is the Mega Glow Highlighting Gold Bar, and that's what it is. It is a bar of gold. So it is a warmer highlight, but totally not chalky, not splotchy, not glittery. I don't know. This is amazing pricing for a highlighter that performs as nicely as it does. Also, like from Ulta, this is the Essence Pure Nude highlighter. This is like your friendly highlighter. You cannot go wrong with this highlighter. It doesn't shimmer nearly as much as the Gold Bar highlighter does. Tarte also released, in addition to some of their blushes, they also released some highlighters. So this is the Exposed highlight. I love this highlight. This also is a little bit on the warmer side, but with it being on the warmer side, it also is just a very user-friendly sort of everyday highlighter. And finally, as far as highlighters, I'm gonna go, it kind of goes without saying, it really has lived up to the hype. It's by Becca, it's the Champagne Pop. I try to describe this to people. This is a little bit warm and cool. It's peachy, it's pink, it's silver, it's gold. I don't know how they do it, but it really is a very universal, but with a little bit of amplification. But with a little bit of amplification when it comes to highlighting. Becca really does do very well with their highlighters, and Champagne Pop, I reach for kind of without question. I know that it will perform very nicely. I'm going to have a hard time talking about mascaras because I have like 8, and that's unrealistic when it comes to a best in. But let me tell you, I love mascara. It's one of my favorite products. So I typically try a lot of them, looking for ones that I feel really perform. So I'm just going to remind you, because it should not be brand new information, that I love the L'Oreal Telescopic and I love the Dior Show Blackout Mascara. lengthens, volumizes, excellent sort of a team. I don't think I will ever break up with them. From the drugstore, I have really loved by L'Oreal, which is probably my favorite drugstore mascara, the Voluminous Feline Mascara. Absolutely love this. It's a great volumizer, keeps your lashes separated, and it doesn't give you like clumpiness even though it's trying to volumize, so I absolutely love that. By Tarte, the Lights Camera Lashes Mascara. This is just a really good, just kind of all over. I find that it volumizes without clumping, which I think is key, but gives you good length too. The Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara, I think is like Sephora's like top selling mascara. This guy is out of control. You get major volume from this guy. Probably my favorite mascara though, hands down, which would be the purpose of a Best in Beauty video. Sorry guys. But my favorite mascara, hands down, new to me, is by IT Cosmetics. It's the Superhero Mascara because it really, really is. This thing does crazy things for your lashes. I don't know how it's able to lengthen and volumize as well as it does. It's the bomb. I'm gonna use that for this product alone in this video. The IT Superhero is the bomb. Oh my gosh, I also need to mention by L'Oreal, the Volumizing Primer. This is out of control. I use this every day. I try not to use it. I feel like I'm addicted to it, but it winds up being able to prime and volumize your lashes in advance of mascara without kind of making a mess. I've never found as good a volumizing primer as I have with this. I have not been happy with ones that I have used in the past, and so that was a pleasant surprise. When it comes to eyebrows, I still live for the Anastasia Brow Wiz. I prefer the Wiz over the definer. I have been loving by L'Oreal the Brow Stylist Plumper. This is kind of a tinted mascara for your eyebrows. So this one has a tiny little kind of applicator wand at the very end. I love using this. I go in with that first. One, to kind of fill in my brows a little bit so that I get to use less pencil, and I find that like darkening my current hairs just winds up making it look more natural. P.S. I happen to have really nice full brows, so if you don't have a lot of brow, I'm sorry, but this might not work out so well for you. But the other thing is, and I think this would benefit anybody no matter what, is I always get foundation on my eyebrows. I find that putting this on top kind of takes away any whiteness or foundation like hint that I wind up getting on my brows, and kind of restores my brows back to life. So and then like I said, I go in with that first, and then I follow up with the Anastasia Brow Wiz to kind of fill in as naturally as possible where there might be some baldness or sparseness. I'm gonna leave lips for last, but what I do want to mention, I have been in love with a number of very specific brushes this year, and I just wanted to give them a shout out, even though I have before. Bobbi Brown, I don't know, makes super magical brushes. This is the face blender, and then this is the bronzing brush. I also love by Anastasia her highlighting brush. I mean, she's all about the highlighters, and so I thought, well, why not try the A23 highlighting highlighting brush. It's the perfect density, it's the perfect shape. I don't know. I don't know. It's a highlighting brush made by a gal who makes really nice highlighters, and so I just wanted to mention that brush. Finally, I want to mention by Sephora one of their Pro brushes. This is the Pro Airbrush number 55. Oh my goodness, this is so nice and fluffy to put powder on all over your face. You can use it to blush as well. You can use it to bronze. Multi-purpose brush, super soft, pretty awesome. Then also one of their less expensive brushes. This is their classic crease brush. I find that it does really well there in my crease, and it's really, really soft. I reach for it more than I do my MAC 217. Finally, let's talk about lipsticks or lip products first. I love my favorite lip liner, like of all time, like not just this year, is by Charlotte Tilbury. It's her Lip Cheat liners. I don't know what it is about them. They go on really nicely and they last really long, and they don't make my lips feel awkward, sticky, or funny in any way. Two of my favorite lipsticks from the year, and I've got a whole bunch of shades within them, and so I'm not even necessarily going to call out the particular shades, but I love the NARS Audacious lipsticks. They're more than $30, but I think that they're pretty worth it. They're kind of a mattifying, creamy formula, so they wind up being long wearing. They don't last forever, but they don't make my lips feel uncomfortable, and that's pretty important to me. I also love by Lorac their lipsticks. They're specifically called the Highly Pigmented Cream Lipsticks. They're a little bit drier than the NARS lipsticks, but they've kind of perform the same purpose. They're kind of mattifying without being too drying, but they wind up lasting then a really long time as well. I will forever love the MAC Cream Sheen lipsticks, classic black bullet, but the Cream Sheen lipsticks, I'm wearing one right now. It's actually called Naked Proof. I don't need a lip liner with them. They kind of moisturize my lip, but they're creamier than a gloss is, so that winds up staying on longer than you would expect, and I love all of the shades. I have way too many of them. My favorite lip gloss this year is definitely by Anastasia. So she's got her liquid lipsticks and then she's got her lip glosses. These are very pigmented lip glosses, so they're a little bit thicker, but they're not sticky or tacky. They wind up being a little bit more long wearing, so you get some really major shine that doesn't fall off 5 minutes later or after you take a sip of coffee. That was a lot of talking. Holy cow. 2016 was a good year for me in makeup, apparently. There were a lot of things I liked and a lot of things that I wanted to share with you. So if you've made it this far, yay, congratulations. What are some of your favorite products from last year? Please let me know. Of course, I'm always trying to build my shopping list, and a lot of your suggestions from last year definitely made it both into my collection and actually into this list. So for that, I totally appreciate it. Like I said, please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I invite you to be one of my subscribers if you're not. Please join me and the rest of my G crew. I am on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. Join me over there if you have a minute. I'm going to leave you guys today with kind of a closing quote. It was something I heard the other day. I thought it was kind of hilarious. And so my quote for you is, Dear Santa, for 2017, I would like a fat bank account and a thin body. Please do not confuse the two like you did last year. Thanks again, guys. I hope you have a really great day, a fabulous 2017, and in the meantime, thanks.
The glitter intensity of this particular unit? What's a unit?